Hey, Oz.
Hey, Curtis.
Hey, what movie we watching this week?
This week we are watching the movie Marriage of Chinatown
Of
meets Die Hard,
course.
meets The Wrestler, meets Bordello of Blood.
Nice.
This week we're talking about Frank Miller's Sin City.
Not just Sin City, Frank Miller's
Frank
Sin City.
Miller's Sin City. To be fair, because I think he's a grouchy dude anyway.
That's how he comes across.
I just think he's a grouchy dude that's always seems to be like, I'm not happy with any adaptation of my work, but I'll still profit off of the adaptations of my work. Like,
exactly.
If you don't like it, then don't let him do it. But I feel he was probably more involved with this adaptation than most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was literally playing the priest.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And so he's been involved more in this one. So I don't think this left just as bad a taste in his mouth. I think Rodriguez was like, why don't you just come on set and have your hands all over it?
Yeah.
And then complain.
Or I'll give you the impression that your hands are all over it.
Exactly.
While I do the grunt work and make sure it's a good movie.
Exactly. Very, very much so. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme. This month being non-MCU DC comic book movie month.
Yes, just rolls off the tongue.
And I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I'm the other host, Curtis.
And before we get rolling, we want to give a shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., and ding, 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 ding.
There's another one.
New Patreon subscriber Colleen K. Thank you very much for joining the
Colleen K.
Yeah,
aka Koki,
aka Koki. So welcome to the Patreon list, Koki. We're glad to have you.
Yes, we are.
So
I hope you navigate to this video successfully.
Yeah, I exactly. We'll send you the link. How about that?
Yeah.
But no, this was one of the easier movie marriages I've had in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And it wraps up, I feel, very nicely. It covers every piece of the movie that was there.
Yeah.
That crimes are different in Chinatown, and Bruce Willis didn't die very easy in this one.
No, he did not. So being riddled with bullets.
Yeah. So it was a double entendre Die Hard there, as well as Mickey Rourke, the wrestler Marv,
the wrestler.
And then really it was like, oh man, these are all spot on. What am I going to do for a punchline here? And I'm like, Bordello of Blood.
Why not?
Or fits perfectly. Prostitutes and machine guns.
Uh-huh.
So I've got the plot this week. What do you got for? I'm going to sit back while you cover the characters of this.
Yeah, go get a drink.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of fly through the character list because there's a lot of names in this movie.
You have to.
I mean, there's a lot of movie to this movie.
Oh, yeah,
well.
There really is. There's three movies to this movie, to be exact.
Yes. Yeah, plus the bookend. There's the bookends, and then as we were joking before, the dust jacket that goes around the bookends. So we've got, and I'm just going to read these straight off with the old Wikipedia here, Oz.
Yep.
We've got, and I think it put them in alpha order, at least partway through by the actors' last names. We got Jessica Alba and Mackenzie Vega as Nancy Callahan. We got Devin Aoki as Miho, Alexis Bledel as Becky, Powers Booth as Senator Rourke, and I'll jump down. We got Rutger Hauer as his brother Cardinal Patrick Henry Rourke.
Exactly.
We may as well throw in Nick Stahl as another Rourke as well. We've got Rosario Dawson as Gail, Benicio del Toro as Lieutenant Jack Iron Jack Rafferty, a.k.a. Jackie Boy, Michael Clark Duncan as Minute, Carla Gugino as Lucille, Josh Hartnett as the salesman, Nikki Kent as Stuka, Jamie King as Goldie and Wendy, Michael Madsen, Detective Bob, Brittany Murphy as Shelley, Nick Offerman as Bert Schlub.
Almost unrecognizable Nick
exactly.
Offerman.
Clive Owen as Dwight, Mickey Rourke as Marv, Marley Shelton as the customer, Elijah Wood as Kevin, Tommy Flanagan as Brian, and Bruce Willis as Detective John Hartigan.
Yeah, it's...
I'm not even going to try to tie all those together in this to all the segments.
Well, and that's kind of where this movie really is. It's a fun ride because this is obviously it's comic book month. This is an adaptation of a Frank Miller graphic novel series. And so
Cranky Frank
Miller. But what's really fun about this movie is, one, it's in the right hands for sure.
With those hands being Robert Rodriguez's, not Frank Miller's.
Exactly, Robert Rodriguez, directing, cinematography, editing, as he does. Like, it's Robert Rodriguez. He has his hands on everything. But what's fun is, yes, this is a full-length film, but in terms of plot, there's not one through line as much as you're in Sin City. It's like you're in Gotham when Batman's not around. That's really kind of how this movie feels. There's a seedy, dirty underbelly to all of it.
Basin City is kind of like the real main character.
Exactly. So that's what we're looking at. I'm going to start here, like you aforementioned. There's a wraparound kind of story in the sequence of what you're watching, but then there's two of those. So we're going to start with the dust jacket that really doesn't it doesn't play much into any part of the movie until it comes out on the other end. Like, the characters from within this first wraparound don't blend in as much as they do with the others. We've got Marley Shelton and Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett is it's just our main character, salesman and customer. They're looking out over the city. They're just having a conversation. Not really sure what the conversation's from, but she's tired of running, and I need you to
tired of running from something.
Yeah, I'm running.
She was out of breath the whole time.
Yeah. Darn treadmill out there.
Literally tired of running.
There's Running on Empties playing in the background.
Yeah. it's all right there.
Real heavy.
The Running Man was on muted TV.
It's all on. Like, but she's like, she's finally feeling some comfort of like, he's there to protect her, there to save her. They kiss, and he shoots her.
Yeah.
And she's dead. And then he's like, I'll never know what she was running from. Like...
I'll cash your check in the morning.
Yeah. So she is done running. And then we really flow into the second wraparound, titled That Yellow Bastard, which we don't see where it comes up until the finished wraparound.
Yes.
And this is, again... Everything in this movie kind of gives the vibe that it could all be happening the same night, if not the same week. Because we get some scene changes that put the crossroads of our different plots in the same location. The plots aren't crossing, but the locations are crossing.
Yep. So Katie's bar.
Right. This part, though, takes place several years earlier.
Yep.
As we have Bruce Willis as John Hartigan.
John Hartigan.
Yes. Who's, a day away from retirement, as they are.
Last day on the force.
Right.
Getting too old for this.
A ton of internal monologue. Like,
yes.
But, it is what it is.
Got a heart condition called angina.
Yeah, right. It's just, everything's so grizzled. Let's
I know, it's like
you ordered a steak and threw out the meat and just kept the gristle.
Even the dialogue has like 5 o'clock shadow.
Exactly. The internal monologue is hoarse. Even my mind's voice is worn out. But he's on the hunt for a senator's son who has been on this rampage of like raping and killing like children.
Yep.
Like just disgustingly heavy stuff.
Yep. Yeah, Frank Miller has a thing for writing this kind of stuff.
He does.
There was things like this in Watchmen.
Yep.
The Dark Knight Returns had some hints at some things.
Yeah.
Like
it's almost like in his mind, like, you know what? I know what makes a city real awful. Yep. And then and he writes it, and it's like, well, you can acknowledge that but that doesn't mean you got to put it in your books. Like,
yeah.
And so, he's on the hunt, and he's got a beat. He knows he's got one where 11-year-old Nancy Callahan has been abducted. And John Hartigan's going to save her. No more killed children on his watch.
Starts by talking to his partner, Bob.
Who, played by Michael Madsen, who just, I think that the postage was paid on his mailed-in performance. So you got a bum ticker, and it's like,
why don't you go home to your wife?
Yeah, it was just so like yada yada yada, mm-hmm. like just so. And so he's on the hunt. He's gonna find this girl. He's gonna save her, and it's all like he's playing this all out in his head. He's aware of his limitations, but I've got the drive that this is gonna work. And so, come to find out, it goes into this warehouse. Bob's trying to talk him out of it. Like, you don't want to do that, we kind of joked, like, go home to your wife, let this go. Yeah. You're almost retired. And Hartigan's like, no. Like,
well, Bob's clearly on the take.
Yeah, very, very much so. But we don't like officially know that yet. You almost can sense like, well, because he's like, let's just wait for backup. Like, they're on their way. Like,
Nancy's not going to make it until
you
backup
don't have to go in single-handed. Yeah. And so Hartigan fights through the pain, because again, he's got a bad heart, which naturally always acts up at the least convenient time.
Always as he's descending on the bad guy.
Yeah, there's my heart again.
I gotta swallow 50 pills at once.
Do you think they named him that because it's always his heart again?
Oh man, it's my pancreas again.
It's really John Johnson. They call him Old Hartigan.
John, large intestines again.
Whenever I got the beat on someone, it's always his heart again.
Gallstones again.
So he heads into this warehouse where he's got, like, he knows that's where Rourke. He knows where that's where Rourke's at. He knows where that's where Nancy's at. He fights back Hartigan's, goon, or not Hartigan's. He fights back Rourke's goons, and he's suffering. And Rourke's just like, you can't even lift that cannon, just taunting him or whatever. And, like, Hartigan shoots his ear off.
As he's holding Nancy too. As Rourke Jr. is holding Nancy, he just shoots him right in the ear.
Shoots his ear off. And then when he raises the head, he shoots his hand off. Mm-hmm. And then
take away his
weapons. And then as he falls back, he shoots him in the genitals.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, he's like, he's not gonna hurt. He's not gonna hurt anybody anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, this is like out on the dock of this warehouse pier area, and of course now Bob shows up and just starts shooting Hartigan all the heck.
Puts 3 rounds right through his chest.
Right, because he knows he's got a bum ticker.
It's the Hartigan.
Yeah, and so we hear backup showing up. Bob leaves Nancy there. Like, Nancy, realizing she's been saved, goes to Hartigan's defense. And Hartigan is content with it. He comes to peace with it. Like, my death is as he says, it's a fair trade for her life. Like,
an old man dies, a little girl lives.
Right.
Fair
and
trade.
So it's like, this is okay. Mm-hmm. And then we cut away from that. Yeah. That is part 1, listeners. We will be back.
That's part 1 of part 1.
Exactly. We'll be back next week for the conclusion of that yellow bastard.
Stay tuned in, gumshoes.
Then we segue to another issue,
vignette,
another issue of this movie, The Hard Goodbye. As we meet Marv and Goldie sharing a bed together. Marv, this is, in my opinion, by far like the best costume work in this film.
Yeah.
Is
the makeup and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it looks like a cinder block come to life.
Oh, it does. Like Rodriguez and crew they set on a mission to make this movie look like the graphic novel.
Yeah.
And they succeeded.
They succeeded.
Yeah. Yeah. They did a great job because they took an animation and made it come to life in moving form, and it still feels like you're watching a comic book, which is just awesome. So we find Marv and Goldie. Marv is clearly like he knows his lot in the universe.
Yes.
No woman would ever want to be with me. I am aware of that. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Goldie's with me. She smells the way an angel should smell. Like he knows that she's a woman of the night.
Well, and that she's in trouble.
Yeah,
that's the only reason that she would choose to be with him. Because he even says later, like, I know she picked me because I was the toughest looking guy around.
Right. Like, he's aware of it. And he's clearly comfortable with his lot in life.
Yes. He, like you said, he knows exactly who and what he is.
And so they share a very passionate evening, fall in love in their heart-shaped bed. Is that Marv's, or do you think that's hers?
I'm pretty sure that's Marv's.
It's Bruce Willis's. It's his Hartigan.
That explains a lot. All of his furniture is heart-shaped.
It's all heart-shaped. So Marv wakes up and she's been killed.
Yeah.
No physical marks, but she's dead.
Yeah, and why is he still alive?
Yeah. So he sniffs it out real quick as he hears the police coming that like, yep, she's been killed. They're framing me.
And I'm being set up.
Yeah, and I need to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, he's not a very like intelligent guy, but he's a very shrewd guy.
Yes, and he's not intelligent, but like, to go there, like sharp. Like,
yeah,
he's quick on the uptake in that regard. Again, he knows he's kind of an idiot, but he's like, well, this is all, full speed ahead. Like,
yep.
I got to go, because she made him feel good.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it boils down to. She made him feel good. He fights his way, very comic book style, like fights his way out of this apartment complex.
He backhands through a door.
Yeah.
Into two SWAT guys outside.
Yeah, and it just, the door explodes as he comes out. Like, he takes a swan dive off the railing and then catches himself. It's like, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. But he escapes and goes straight to Lucille, his parole officer, played by Carlos Gugino. And not much more than Carlos Gugino.
Yes, and very, very little clothing.
Yeah, very little, if any.
Yes.
And so she gives him the advice, like, just give up. Like, and he's like, well, he's battling with his own conditions.
Yes.
He knows he's got an anger issue. He knows he's got his issues and his dilemmas and his conditions.
Well, he kind of hints that he's schizophrenic too.
Yeah,
because,
he does.
because he's questioning the reality around him.
Yeah, because he's like, did this really happen? Or, but he's like, full speed ahead. And so, she's like, Marv, you need to just let this one go. Like, you got away. I'm sorry it happened, but, I'm your parole officer.
Yeah, turn yourself in.
Yeah, and he's like, because again, she's kind of like, did you kill her? Like,
she doesn't quite believe him.
Yeah, like
I think she thinks the truth is somewhere halfway in between.
Yeah, and so he goes on this spree of Basin City, of finding people in nice looking trench coats to interrogate.
Yep.
That's kind of the through line of this vignette, which is fun, is that's a real nice coat you're wearing there. And then we see him in that coat later.
Yeah.
But he's chasing down these informants, works his way up to a priest who has been behind all of this. And it ends up being Senator Rourke's brother. So Powers Booth is clearly the worst person in this movie, despite us not really seeing him do anything awful. But he's a pretty awful guy. He's got a terrible kid and a terrible brother. But we find out as he works his way that he's heard of this Kevin guy, but we get back to that as he goes. He doesn't go visit Rourke yet, but he reveals that it goes all the way up to this priest.
Yes, yeah, played by Frank Miller, and he gives up that that there's something going on at this farm outside of town.
Yeah,
it's got to do with Cardinal Rourke, and you got to go check out this farm.
Yeah, I got the priest and the cardinal mixed up. So he kills the priest. So Frank Miller dies in his own film. That's okay.
Whoopsie.
And he gets attacked by Goldie, which really throws him off because, again, he's already battling his hallucinations a bit, unsure of what's real, what's not, and then sees Goldie.
She hits him with her car several times while also shooting at him with a pistol.
Right.
And he just brushes it off.
Yeah, it's Marv. Like, pain don't hurt. So, he gets, it's kind of a, well, again, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So Marv goes to this farm and quickly he's just making his way through everybody. He's I got to be quiet. Mm-hmm. I got to do this quietly. And then he meets his match in Elijah Wood.
Of all people.
As Kevin, which is just
Frodo.
Real fun character. I really like this Kevin character, his characteristics. I don't obviously care for him as a character, but
he was my favorite character. Got a moral compass.
Atkins diet, like he's all and so he comes up against him and realizes this guy's like ninja quiet. So he quickly again puts two together. This is the guy responsible for killing Gold.
Yeah.
He did it.
When I saw this movie for the first time, this movie came out maybe I think about a year and a half after the last of the Lord of the Rings movies. And I think this was the next thing that I saw Elijah Wood in after, 3 straight movies
of being
of being Frodo. And it was a fun juxtaposition of the Kevin character to the Frodo character.
Well, and then to see him go from that to this to like that TV show Wilfred.
Yeah.
with the imaginary talking human dog it's just like good for you, Elijah Wood. I think he's a quirky guy.
Yeah.
So it almost like watching his film, filmography, you're like Lord of the Rings was the oddball choice for him. Like the rest of his stuff is just so indie and
goofy. It's more him, yeah.
Yeah. So he ends up on this farm and he gets bested by Kevin and he wakes up in the basement of the farm. It's got like prison cell bars on the window and Lucille's in there. And again, she's just like, why didn't you let it go? Like, and then we find out about Kevin and that like he took her hand off and made her watch him do it. Like,
he's a cannibal and likes his human flesh very fresh.
Yeah. So he like removed and ate her hand as she's watching. We see the dungeon cell walls adorned with prostitutes' heads.
Yes. So he's been at this for a while, Kevin has.
Yeah. Which all it does is motivate Marv even more.
Mm-hmm.
And because Goldie was a prostitute, it was one of those like nobody cares. Like it's Sin City. Nobody cares about the streetwalkers. And well, Marv does about this one in particular. He sees Kevin like walk away as he's been listening in on the conversation, enough to irritate Marv to the point where he rips the bars out of the wall.
Literally rips out a chunk of wall.
Yeah,
to escape.
He's like Wreck-It Ralph down there in that dungeon.
I'm gonna wreck it. I'm gonna fix it.
He goes running off, and Lucille, he takes Lucille with him, and she's like, Marv, I got this. Like, those are cops. I've got this.
Yeah, as a helicopter of cops descends.
Yeah, let me take care of this. And they just riddle her with bullets.
Yep, she's gone, just like that.
Makes Marv even more mad. So
there happens to be a hatchet in a log sitting right there.
Yeah, exactly. He kills everyone but the leader and then gets out of the leader that this goes all the way up to Cardinal Rourke. And that Cardinal Rourke had arranged for her murder. And basically, not necessarily to frame Marv, but just somebody's got to take the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out that Goldie, was like servicing the Cardinal and all the other figures, in like high up in the Catholic Church there in Basin City.
Right.
And it was time that she had to go.
Yep. You now know too much and we got to get rid of you.
Yep.
Marv heads to Old Town, which was like their red light district. The real seedy part of town.
The seedy part of Basin City.
Exactly. And with her being a prostitute, then this would be the place you would go to learn about. And it's so fun because like the entire city knows who Marv is. And like no one, he's got this like almost like teddy bear persona, but also Kodiak teddy bear persona of like, because it's like he just marches into Old Town and like it's okay, it's Marv, you know. And I'm like, this dude could just destroy all of you. And you're like, it's okay. It's Marv. So he goes, and that's where he learns about Wendy, who is Goldie's twin sister. And that was the one that attacked him earlier. So he wasn't hallucinating. It's fun because he gets captured by her, and she's like beating the snot out of him. He's tied up to a chair. He's got this giant like log rope tied around him.
That was a very thick rope.
Very thick rope. And well, they took it off the wall at the fitness center. I think they used to
doing
they used to do the Ghostbusters cross the streams with it.
I think that's the official name of that exercise.
It is Ghostbusters cross the streams.
It's called the Proton Pack.
Yeah, there you go, Proton Pack it. But she just beating him down, and he's telling her what he wants to, what she wants to know, and then like once she gets her answer, he just shakes the ropes off. Like, she's like, you could have gotten up at any time. And he's like, well, yeah, but...
Gail's like, I love the line from Gail. I tied that myself. That's my specialty.
Yeah, I know. She's so... Like, she's just offended. Like, so he's put it together that, all right, Wendy's not a killer. We got to get after this guy. Mm-hmm. They go back to the farm.
Yeah, they do.
And Wendy is like, I'm going with you. And Marv's like, internal monologue, I never hit a dame, as he then like backhands her in the next week.
Yeah.
But not cool. But his idea was, what I'm about to do to Kevin, you shouldn't be watching. They did go shopping earlier, like
they stopped at the local hardware store.
Commando style of dropping all their things into a montage. But basically he does get the beat on Kevin, captures him, ties him up, like tourniquets him with all this rubber tubing, and then like saws off all of his extremities.
Yep.
Kevin just sits there smiling, like
just a stump in a head.
Whistles for the dog, Kevin's dog, who then comes and continues eating on Kevin's, basically giving Kevin a dose of his own medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin just sits there. Like, it's such a cool role for Elijah Wood. No dialogue at all.
Yeah, nothing. No spoken words.
No, it's just kind of cool. And we find out, gets himself to Rourke, confronts him. Rourke tells him, takes Kevin's head with him.
Yeah.
That dog must have been well fed. I just see the dog laying there just burp.
just big distended belly.
It just looks like Barney now.
It's flies buzzing around
Exactly. And so, he gets to Rourke. Rourke tells him why he did it.
Yeah.
And then he and Kevin would eat the prostitutes together.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just eat their flesh, he ate their souls.
Yes, is how he phrased it.
And so, Marv then kills the Cardinal because I don't blame you. Then he's shot and captured by the guards. And basically everything in this movie, and we'll come back to it here in a couple of segments, everything boils down, come back to this movie of the corrupt cops want you to admit to something you didn't do.
That's the through line.
That's pretty much is like, do this signed confession. So Marv eventually gets to respect the health. They threaten to kill his mom unless he confesses to killing Rourke, killing Kevin, and all the prostitutes.
All the prostitutes. Yeah, Goldie.
Basically, we gotta cover all this up, and you're gonna take the fall. Fun to see they put him in the electric chair. They had pretty good steak, and the pastor, the preacher starts reading it. He's like, I don't get time for this.
And they throw the switch in the first time. He says, is that all you got?
I know. It's like they send enough bolts to kill anyone, and he just spits out and just like trash talks them. But they do then proceed to execute him. Wendy did come visit him one more time before he's executed. But then that's it.
She smells like angels ought to smell.
Right. And, he thinks that it's kind of a fun play because anytime he thinks it's Goldie, she's got blonde hair.
Yeah.
And when it's Wendy, when he realizes it's not Goldie, it fades. It goes away to black and white. By the way, this movie's in black and white.
That explains a lot.
Ooh, I thought I had a bad print. And so, he calls her. He thinks it's Goldie. Realizes it's Wendy, and she's like, you call me Goldie. Like, you're about to die. I don't mind.
Yeah.
And so that's it. That's it for Marv. However, he did take down a very corrupt operation going on from another Rourke family member.
Yep.
Then we cut to the third vignette of the movie, the big fat kill, which is a fun one. This is a fun one. This one, I think, because it doesn't have like the physicality of like of Hartigan or
Marv.
This one feels a little bit more human-like characters.
Well, yeah, it's, the Dwight character is a little slicker.
Yeah. And so we meet Shelley, who we've seen a few times already, played by Brittany Murphy. R.I.P. Brittany Murphy. Real cute, right? Just real cute in this movie. Like, there's some Brittany movie vehicles that I'm like, I don't know, but it's like, if in the right director's hands, I think she was quite adequate.
But yeah, she was insanely talented.
Very much so. Very much so. And just...
like her role in King of the Hill, and I know, it was just a voice role, but still, oh my god, yeah.
So, Benicio del Toro comes knocking on her door. Jackie Boy, and I think the first movie Benicio del Toro acts in where he could play himself, and everyone would be like, "That is a performance for a lifetime," because. Del Toro is a lot like a Gary Oldman, that like every time you see him, he's a character. And therefore, whenever you see him playing it straight, you're like, does anyone know what Benicio del Toro's voice actually sounds like?
Yeah, there's always a little something there. Yeah.
Or what he actually looks like. So he's being harassed, or she's being harassed by Jackie Boy.
And his 4 goons.
Yeah, it's a squad. And so they barge their way. Well, we find out before he comes barging in that Shelley's got a man over. She's got Dwight over, Dwight McCarthy, who we find out as we go along is a convicted murderer that's had a facelift. Like, he's got a whole new face now. So who knows what he looked like before, but he doesn't look like that any longer.
Marv.
Yeah, it was Marv. Got a bum ticker. He's got Hartigan's bum ticker and Marv's face.
They actually look like Goldie. They were triplets.
There was one scene when he's got Jackie Boy's face in the toilet that he every time I watch it, I'm like, you look like Frodo, who's kind of like when he's angry with the ring.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, every time I've seen it, I'm like, dude, he looks like Frodo in that one.
Frodo had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
So Dwight's kind of walking around in the background. He's not hiding. But Jackie Boy and his goons are drinking beer. They're, mouthing off to Shelley. They're trying to get Shelley, you need to call up your girlfriends and we're going to have a good time. And Shelley's like, no. But she's still like, no, Jackie Boy. She's doing her Harley Quinn performance before Harley Quinn. I've got the whole Basin City football team in here. And
she would have been a great Harley Quinn.
Oh, absolutely.
Brittany Murphy.
Absolutely. Jackie Boy leaves himself to go to the bathroom, and that's where he meets Dwight, who's hiding in the shower because what was that movie we saw Valley Girl? Because he took a note from Nick Cage, and he's like, I know what to do. Hide in the shower.
2 hours later, after standing in the shower.
I was waiting for Jackie Boy. So Jackie Boy is, he's going pee, and Dwight comes up behind him and like, basically, you're going to leave Shelley alone. You're not going to talk to her again. And Jackie, what are you talking about? And like, it reminds him he forgot to flush as he like dunks his head into the urine-filled bath. And
it's very clear. Like, again, they play with the color in this movie a lot, and they make sure that the toilet water is
just
yellow.
Just a tinge yellow. Yeah, he's not hydrated very well.
Get those electrolytes up there, Jackie Boy.
Jackie Boy and his crew leave Shelley's, and they're leaving. And Dwight's can't let it go. He's mad. Like,
well, he knows Jackie Boy's mad. He knows all 5 of them are drunk, and that they're gonna go hurt someone.
Yeah, I can't let it happen, Shelley. So Jackie Boy takes off, and Dwight is hiding outside the bathroom window on the ledge, and just. I got to go stop this as he jumps off of the ledge and just Batmans himself down.
Basically.
Yeah. in his red Chuck Taylors. Shelley's yelling something after him, like stop, something like that.
Yeah, but I couldn't hear over the roar of the helicopter.
Right. So Dwight, follows them. They're headed to Old Town. Now we've already been introduced to Old Town in the last segment, so we know what's going on there. So Jackie Boy and his crew roll up to Alexis Bleedle, and they're like, "Why don't you get in the car?" And it's all that stuff one would do when you're trying to pick up a prostitute. And she's like, "You don't want to do that,"
and show off to your friends at the same time.
Yeah, that too. And so as Jackie Boy pulls into Old Town, there was a police officer following him, and as he pulls into Old Town, the police back off, and we find out about the truce of Old Town.
Yeah,
that the police stay out of it because the prostitutes can police themselves.
Yeah,
and if a cop does go into Old Town looking for things he shouldn't, they just send him on his way.
Old Town is kind of a lot like how Disneyland used to be. How like they had their own form of government and like pretty much, security.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Vatican City inside of Basin City.
Imagine what Ron DeSantis would do to Old Town.
Raise their taxes and be upset while also spending all of his time there. Yeah. And so, Gail, who we met in the last vignette, she's kind of the leader. She and Dwight have an on and off relationship. But Dwight rolls in and it's basically like, this guy's up to no good. And Gail's like, it's okay. We got it. Like, it's okay. Miho's on it. Devin Aoki's character is just so awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
And so, it's all right. They're just kind of waiting. Jackie Boy pulls a gun. Miho then decides to take it and like throws a ninja star, cuts his hand off, and kills all of them.
Yep.
Like,
except Jackie Boy.
Right.
The now handless Jackie Boy.
Yes. So he's struggling, whatever. Well, she kind of kills him.
Eventually she does.
Yeah. Yeah. She murders the other four, but then she pulls, and Dwight's right there. He pulls a gun with his good hand on Miho, and Dwight's like, don't, just leave it alone. Like, stop. He's like, he's like telegraphing all of these moves.
Yeah.
She throws this like shot blocker into the barrel of his gun. He's like,
pretty good throw, by the way.
Very good throw. But he's like, don't pull the trigger. She's jammed it. It's going to backfire. And of course he does it anyway.
Yeah.
And it kills him. Like puts the, I don't know, gun parts, but puts part of it like
the top of the gun just flies back. Yeah.
It like embeds in his head. So they're going through everybody's wallets and pockets because that's what they do. And that is when everything comes together for Dwight.
Mm-hmm.
He realizes as he gets into Jackie Boy's wallet that Shelley wasn't yelling stop. Shelley was yelling he's a cop.
Yep.
As Dwight finds his badge. And now they realize,
and not just any cop, this like purported hero cop, like the hero of Basin City.
Yes. Yeah. Which should tell you something about the quality of life in Basin City.
If this guy's the hero.
Right.
But like this is gonna, once word gets out, the cops will come back, the mob will come back.
Yeah, it's gonna go back to the way it used to be. Before the girls got control of Old Town.
Mm-hmm.
So Dwight's got an idea. He's like, I need a fast car with a good engine,
Give me a hard top.
Yeah. I'm gonna take Dwight, and first Miho chops everybody up so I can fit in the trunk.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take this car to the tar pits and just let it sink and we'll be good. Right? We'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the car runs out of gas like a quarter mile away, so he pushes the car seemingly uphill the rest of the way.
Yes, it looks like a pretty steep climb.
But Dwight, he could jump from a building with no problem.
Those Chuck Taylors.
It's a
lot of traction.
It worked for Bill Russell. So he then gets ambushed by a bunch of mercenaries hired by the mob,
like Irish mercs.
Hired by the mob, and they're after Rafferty's head.
Mm-hmm.
And so
proof. They need proof.
They need proof that he's dead. How word got out that quick, I don't know. But
somebody made a phone call.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a mole. Dwight comes to that conclusion here soon, but yeah, you're right. Somebody tipped off the mob that they killed a cop.
Yeah.
So turns out, luckily, Miho followed him because as Dwight was literally drowning in the tar pits, Miho knew exactly where he was and stuck her hand down and grabbed him, pulled him to safety. Between the two of them, they kill everybody else. But one got away with the head. So they're chasing this guy down, but it's like, we got to get that head back. That's because that's what these mercs end up leaving with, is we have proof, we have his head. We do have a lot of conversation on the way to the tar pit that, Rodriguez's friend Quentin Tarantino got an opportunity to direct a little bit of this. So there was, being Tarantino, it was a car scene with a lot of dialogue.
Yep, a lot of dialogue.
A lot of dialogue. And so
Dwight talking to the corpse of Jackie Boy,
who's talking back to him. So,
yes.
But of course, it's all hallucination, whatever, So where am I at here? Oh, this mercenary goes down to the sewer with Jackie, with Jackie's head. Long story, they get the head back. Yeah. And so, meanwhile, the mob enforcer, which I had forgot Michael Clark Duncan was in this movie until he showed up.
Yeah, not a very big role.
No, not at all. He shows up as the muscle, kidnaps Gale, and is basically, we also get the little guy from Kill Bill Volume 2 as a role in this one, playing the same character.
Basically.
So I'm going to watch on this heinous crime. And so, basically, like, it's all, in its deep, froggy voice, that it's all going to go back to the way it was. You can't do anything about it. Miho shows up. There's the guy that's supposed to kill. This is where I found out the mole. Yeah, it was Alexis Bleedle's character. I can't remember her name. Becky, thank you. Becky comes in. She's like, Gale, just tell him what he wants to know. Like, and that's when it's like, oh, okay, you're the mole. They threatened my mom.
They didn't.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, Gale sees right through it.
No, they didn't. But she's like, but okay, they didn't. But they're giving me an opportunity to get out. To which then Manut's like, go ahead and kill her.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, there's your chance, and you clearly were lied to. But then Miho's firing arrows from across the way. Catches a guy with a swastika tattoo on his forehead. Hey,
hey,
and then takes a kind of a tongue-in-cheek comical couple of beats of like, anybody see this arrow go right through me? Like,
yeah, there's a note on the end of it.
Yeah, they did preface earlier that you don't feel it unless Miho wants you to feel it.
Yeah,
and so apparently she didn't want this guy to feel it. And so there's a note that basically Dwight's got a plan. Look, I'll give you the head, you give me the girl.
Yeah,
and you can have Old Town. It's all fine. Like, that's the plan. So they all march down this alleyway. Dwight's standing at the end, with the head. He tosses the head. It's got duct tape over the mouth, and he gets Gale back, and it's basically, Becky's like, wait a minute, there wasn't tape on his mouth. Well,
yeah,
he took the explosives from the IRA guy from earlier, and meanwhile, the girls of Old Town are lining the rooftops into this alley. Yep.
This very narrow alley with no escape routes.
Right, and so lights them all up. Yep. Police, the mob, everybody that's there gets lit up.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, he gets lit up. Gale and Dwight reconvene the kiss they started earlier. Poor Shelley, that's the one piece of this that I always thought back to. I'm like, what? Poor Shelley.
Jackie Boy's treating her like garbage. Now Dwight's cheating on her.
Yeah, it's like Dwight seemed to be okay. Yeah. I mean, his heart's in the right place. Old Town.
She nearly takes my head off. My warrior woman.
Exactly. My Valkyrie. And that's it. This is like the only... I mean, yes, there's death at the end of this, but it seems to be the only segment thus far where the hero doesn't die.
Yeah, there's a happy-ish ending, I guess.
Speaking of that, let's come back to that yellow bastard.
Yep.
After Hartigan got shot up by Bob, he was taken to the hospital. Okay, so he wasn't left to die. We meet Senator Rourke, played by Powers Booth.
What a menacing performance in this one scene that he's in too.
Powers Booth, very underrated actor. I would put him in the same side of the Venn diagram as like a John Saxon. If he's involved, you've got a good movie on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also like handsome enough to play that strong, like not a male lead, but like he's going to get roles Emmett Walsh doesn't get, if you know what I mean. He's going to get roles Arlie Ermey doesn't get.
Yeah.
But just that real, like, very powerful, no pun intended, just
very masculine.
Yeah. It's like a poor man's Warren Beatty of sorts of just.
I like that comp. That's a good comp.
And so, but I'd probably rather watch a lot more Powers Booth movies than Warren Beatty movies. And so we find out that, you're here, but you know what? My son's in a coma as well. And I need a kid. Like, that was my legacy, my bloodline.
You took it away.
Yep. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to take the fall for all of his crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? And if anybody tells the truth, your family's going to die.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put you in prison. We're going to put you in solitary confinement. And Nancy visits him before they put him in solitary. She promises, I'm going to write you every week. Yep. And so while he's in jail, long time, because he refuses to confess. He is getting letters weekly from Nancy.
Yep.
For like 8 years. Then the letters just quit coming. And he gets 1 week, for quite a while. And then 1 week he gets a letter, thinks it's from her. It's just a severed finger.
Yeah.
So now he's like, they got to her. They found her. I don't know how they found her. She gave nothing away in her letters, but he's just all in his head. They got to her. So he confesses to all of it. So they don't hurt her.
Yeah. And to get out.
Yeah. And to get out.
So try to find and protect her.
So confesses to all of it, gets paroled, and goes searching for her. Again, we've already met characters that we see again in this bar. They're now dead, but we see him anyway. He goes to her apartment. Like, he's basically being a detective. He's following the trail. And the only clue he gets is like a matchbook for this like gentleman's club kind of thing. So he goes thinking maybe somebody there knows who she is. Well, lo and behold, Jessica Alba's on the bar doing what probably what this movie is best known for, is just dancing. Very.
Yep.
Not. She's got more on than Salma Hayek had on, and
Yep. 11-year-old Nancy grew up.
Yeah, she grew up, and thankfully Hartigan's not like. Thankfully, he doesn't appear to be super creep out mode. It's like, he's in there, he recognizes her. Granted, call a spade. He recognizes there's Nancy. She's all grown up. Like, I recognize she's a woman now. Yes. I'm going to leave. Because
difference between recognizing it and like lusting
exactly.
after it. Yeah.
So he recognizes, okay. Then it dawns on him, they've been following me.
Yeah, I'm being set up right now.
They don't know where she is. They don't know who she is. Well, they know who, but they don't know where she is. I just led them to her. Yeah. So I'm going to leave. I got to leave before she recognizes me. And then makes the cardinal sin of turning around to look at her on his way out. Like, idiot. I don't want her to recognize me as I stare at her. As I stare at her as I walk 20 feet. So
caw.
Nancy. So she, takes a jump off and just throws herself into his arms, kisses him. I'm like, she's in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also very confused, as he's been a hero to her for her entire life. So she's, it's an infatuation, I would say. I wouldn't call it a straight, like, I'm sexually attracted to this man that I last saw several years ago.
Yeah.
But he's also being followed. So they leave, and lost myself in the notes again. And they're being followed. Okay. Yeah. They're being followed. Somebody starts firing away, and it's somebody, just this ghastly yellow,
hideous
yellow thing.
Well, and had visited Hartigan in prison
that's right.
once.
That's right.
Didn't say anything.
Right.
Just decks him.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that part. So clearly somebody here has got it out for Hartigan. So the yellow guy starts firing away. Hartigan, is like, I've got, one shot. He's trying too hard, et cetera, et cetera.
Throwing bullets away like candy.
Yeah. Takes a shot, takes this car out. They go to confirm the kill. The guy's not there. So they head to a hotel. Like, we got away. Go to a hotel. Nancy confesses she loves him. I can't reciprocate that.
Yeah.
Like I saved your life. That's not how I feel about you. We find this deformed yellow guy. He ambushes Hartigan and feels it's Rourke Jr.
Yeah.
That while I was in the hospital, knowing that I was the last of the bloodline, we were trying experimental drugs and procedures to bring back my manhood,
to grow back what you blew off,
so that I can reproduce. And these are the side effects. So, there we go. So he hangs Hartigan.
Yeah. And takes Nancy and leaves.
Yeah, because it's like, I got to finish the job. Hartigan escapes despite being tied up and hung. Yep. Apparently his ticker's better.
No more angina.
Nope, it's gone. Tracks down Junior to the Rourke farm, which we've already seen. He fakes a heart.
So Kevin's reading a Bible as he walks up.
Yeah, because he's a religious man. Hartigan fakes a heart attack, which gets Junior to lower his guard just enough that he finishes the job, castrates him.
Plunges a knife right to his chest.
Yeah, and then reaches down and I like how they would cut away when they're doing something probably that would hit the MPAA.
Yeah. I take away his weapons.
Yeah. You see it just stringy as he's ripping it. It's kind of gross. Castrates him for a second time.
Yep. This time, instead of using a bullet, though, he just uses his hand.
Yeah. And then just beats him to death, to the point that he's like, I was just pushing yellow mush into the floor.
There's nothing left.
Nothing left. Sends Nancy away in the car. I'll catch up. I'll join you. But he knows I got to end it here.
As long as I'm alive,
they're gonna keep going after Nancy.
Yeah.
So he does. He ends his life, and that's the wraparound of.
He shoots himself in the one place that where bullets don't kill him, straight in the head.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Bob shot him shot him 3 times the first time, and then he pumped another 5 at him.
Right in his chest.
Yeah.
And no, he was okay. We needed him. We needed him for part 2. And then I'm going to make this quick because, I just realized we're at 52 minutes.
Well, like we said at the beginning, there's a lot of movies.
There's basically three movies we're covering because they're all 45 minutes long. So then we get the final wraparound of the salesman, our Josh Hartnett character, Becky, who was injured in the Old Town firefight. She's leaving the hospital. She's on the phone with her mom. She gets on the elevator, and we see she's on there with a doctor, played by Josh Hartnett, who we know is it's kind of an ambiguous, but we know he's basically a hitman.
He's a hitman.
Yeah. He offers
uses her name.
Yeah. Offers her a cigarette, calls her by her name. She hangs up the phone with her mom, and it's the only person in this movie we actually didn't see get murdered. Everybody else, except for Goldie, we watched die. And that, my jaw hurts.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on.
That's 2005 Sin City.
Yeah.
Incredible looking movie for being 19 years old.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard to believe this movie's almost 20 years old.
I know.
Now.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, at this point in the show, folks, Oz and I will each give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about, Sin City. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this a box of markers.
Box of markers.
Just in case they wanted some extra color, they'd have something to use. So what are you giving it?
I'm going to go with, let's go 77 limbless Elijah Woods.
There you go.
That old chestnut. Next up, folks, we've got Outside Insights. Oz and I have been scouring the interwebs, searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. Oz, my friend, what is your Outside Insight?
I have a 5-star review by Stolas, left, holy crap, 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. That's
I knew I found it recently, but I didn't realize it was that recent. It says, random musings after 20 years since seeing this in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It is Robert Rodriguez's masterpiece. I don't think he'll ever top this. The closest rival is Planet Terror and the whole Grindhouse experience. Okay.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Mickey Rourke should have been nominated for Best Actor Oscar and win. Marv is a top-tier character. Still get teary-eyed at the end of his chapter. Brittany Murphy would have been a great Harley Quinn.
Oh, there we go. Hey, how about that?
Yeah. We have failed Clive Owen. The man should have been a megastar. He also rules in Closer. Probably the best James Bond we'll never have.
We failed Clive Owen.
You and I were part of it. Music number 4 or 5. Best comic book movie ever? ? And this is another music. This movie will always hold a special place in my heart. Oh, that's okay. So thank you, Stolas, for your checklist of things this movie did for you. What do you got for your Outside Insight?
Mine is a 10 out of 10 review from the Internet Movie Database, left in March of 2018 by Bored Dragon. The cast is fantastic and packed with sexy, undressed, beautiful women. When you see Jessica Alba dancing on the stage of Striptease Bar, you'll completely forget about Salma Hayek's performance in From Dusk Till Dawn.
The references we're making ahead of time.
I know, right? So yeah, this guy's clearly perving out over Jessica Alba, as well as all of the other women in this movie.
And we've talked about the glories of the film and celluloid field before, right? And it's great. Like, I love the fact, and I really am a firm believer. I don't remember when I came across this thought process, but I really appreciate it that, like, people will reference, oh, well, that's an old movie. And someone's like, if you've never seen it, then it's a new movie. Like, and I like that. But the downside of that is they are like time capsules of history. And so don't get me wrong. 19 years ago, I was totally like, yeah, Jessica Alba in Sin City. Okay, but I'm now 19 years older, and she still looks that age in this movie. And so that's the territory that as I've gotten older, I feel a little cringier about. Not about myself and what I used to think, but seeing people that are like, oh, yeah, Jessica Alba, Sin City. And I'm like, yeah, she was super young, and you're not anymore. Like, so it's okay to have that fond memory, but to still like that's the whole like Uncle Rico. Like, I'm
gonna throw football over the mountains.
I can't let that memory go. And I'm like, yeah, you should. You should.
Coach would have put me in. We would have won state.
But that's how I feel sometimes because granted, we don't know the age of this guy, but when people are perving out over how someone looked a long time ago, it's gross. Like,
gross.
Like that's gross. Again, kind of that recognize less thing. Can we recognize that Jessica Alba had a fit body then? Sure, because she did. No one's going to deny it.
Beautiful woman.
But to go back and be like, buddy.
Yowza.
It's like, that's gross. So
gross.
Thanks for giving me that moment to wax poetic.
Hey, folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for, our signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I will each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the film in question, Sin City. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
I mentioned this before. I really like the graphic novel look of this. Like, I really like that vibe of, and that's one thing I'll give Robert Rodriguez, even Quentin Tarantino, even though he's not as tied to this one, but I'll lump him in that same. Like, they clearly are filmmakers that set out to like make a project. Like, I would put, drawing a blank. He did Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim,
Edgar Wright.
Thank you, Edgar Wright. I'd put in that same category. as well as like, you know, like I want to make a movie, but I want it to do this, you know, and then that's what they strive for.
Yeah, make it look and have a very specific look and feel to it, something very unique.
Exactly, but at the same time, not their constant cookie cutter look.
Yeah.
Like Terry Gilliam, as much as I love his films, like he's got a look that spans all of his films. Yeah. Even like Wes Anderson has a look that spans all. Like when you're
everything's symmetrical.
Yeah, but it's like you look at like this Robert Rodriguez movie doesn't look like Spy Kids.
Yeah,
doesn't look, you know. So it's cool to be like, I want to do it, and I want to do it like this. You know, Ron Howard's super successful, but Ron Howard films, they're just kind of that vanilla. And it's nice to have that just surge of flavor every once in a while. Mm-hmm. So I really like that like I set out to do this and I accomplished this. So good for him. My second is I really like it when projects come on the horizon that excite actors enough that everybody wants to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. That you could tell that they're probably, a lot of them are taking massive pay cuts to be part of this project. And I just think that's so cool, because when you get into the world of Hollywood, you see all these big name actors. I'm pulling in 20 million a movie. I'm pulling in 10. I got profit points afterwards, all this stuff. That's like, it's a job to them, but still to see them to get so excited to be like, I want to do that. Like, not like, and so that's when you get a laundry list of cast like this. Like seemingly everybody is a somebody in this film. And you could tell it's just the excitement of working on this project with Rodriguez, which was kind of cool. And my third, and a much more specific, is in The Big Fat Kill, just all the uses of yeesh.
Yeah. Very comic booky.
Yeah. Like there are 3 or 4 of them. There something would be gross. Yeesh. As well as I mentioned earlier, the swastika tattoo guy is just, what do you hey. It cracked me up then. I forgot about it until I saw it again. So those are my goods. What do you got?
I'm going to start with the music. You know, they nailed, you know, like you were kind of referencing the look of it. You know, I'll go with the sound of it. Mm-hmm. You know, they really nailed the film noirness of this movie, you know, with the heavy saxophone and the bass guitar. And it sounds dirty and gritty, you know, just the way this film should be. And, you know, definitely from the source material. So yes, the music and the sound, definitely for the first one. For my second one, I'm going to go Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke, I think gave it the old college try here, and you know, great with a voiceover. I think really sunk himself into this character very well. And for the last one, I kind of want Josh Hartnett to kill me. Like, I will jokingly kind of lean into what you were going with before. Like, Josh Hartnett was hot in this movie.
Yeah. I think it's okay. Well, it's not. It's double standard for sure. Yes. But it's like, if you're heterosexual and you're just you're recognizing that, like, dude is handsome. Like, he
was a very good looking man. And you know, it was, you know, the first, you know, the first of the Dust Jackets, you know, with him, you know, and Marley Shelton, you know, the line delivery and all that. Just, like, they hired a handsome actor to be a handsome hitman and to, you know, like, sweet talk this woman as he shot her in the sternum with a silencer.
Well, and it's one of those that, like, Hartnett doesn't work a lot.
Yeah, and he really picks his roles.
And even at this point in his career, he wasn't working a lot. So, so to see him come out for something like this, it's like you get kind of excited, like, oh wow, Josh Hartnett. Oh, I haven't seen him in a while, and then off he goes again. Like, it's fun. I like those. Good three goods.
Yep. What are your 2 bads, Oz?
My first one, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Michael Madsen's very lazy line delivery when he's trying to talk, you know, Hartigan from not pursuing in that first round. Yes, he wasn't really trying that hard. He was kind of giving it the Willy Wonka treatment of stop, don't quit, you know. Yeah. But it's I don't know why it's always bothered me. Even when it came out, it was like, Michael Madsen, I know that you're kind of limited in your range anyway, but I'm like that's all you got? Like, don't forget you got a bum ticker. Just go home to your wife. And it's like, dude, okay, whatever. He's like lighting a cigarette. It's like, It's like it just felt like he was reading the script. So that's my first bad. The second one, I mentioned it pre-show. We watched two different versions of this movie. The version I watched was, like you said, probably the director's cut, to where it had each segment of story had a full 4 to 5 minutes of credits afterwards, which really made it feel very disjointed. Yeah. As you'd watch 45 minutes and then fast forward through the credits and then watch another 45. I felt like I was watching episodes as opposed to a movie. So those are my two bads. What do you got?
My first one, I have several bullet points here. I'm just going to lump into kind of like one big one. Like as we mentioned before, Frank Miller is not a nice guy. You know, he, as much as like, you know, his, like Watchmen, you know, that original Daredevil run he did, you know, The Dark Knight Returns, 300. Yeah. As good as some of those really are, or I said Watchmen, not Watchmen. Yeah, I mean Sin City. I get him and Alan Moore mixed up for a second there. Yeah, seminal 80s works there. Yeah. You know, although like most of those are good works, they all have some kind of common themes in there of like abuse and misogyny, homophobia. You know, Frank Miller said some pretty weird stuff in real life as well. Again, he kind of leans into conspiracy theories and some of that comes through in his work. Like there's a lot of homophobic language in this. You know, there's misogyny. Everything he does is from a very, very male perspective. Like a very like as he kind of like it's a very sort of like masculine, almost amped up masculine perspective. And even in this movie, as much as you and I love Robert Rodriguez, like it's, you know, there are your quote unquote strong female characters, but nothing is from their perspective. And most of them are still victims in a lot of ways and are still dependent on the males around them. Like you could make the argument, well, like, Old Town, they were running themselves, but they needed Dwight to save them. Like
exactly. He had to come up with a plan and he had to go get rid of the body. It's like, you're right. Like we're still limited in our powers until man comes and helps us. Yeah. So and again, that's the theme of Frank Miller's work, you know, through the years. And, you know, again, I like most of those stories I mentioned, but again, as I've gotten older and become more aware, like, you know, you've got to really look at his work with a grain of salt and keep that, and just be aware of how he frames things and kind of where his worldview is coming from. Otherwise, you kind of get lost in it. Right. Understood. And my second bad, Jessica Alba is not that good in this movie. She's trying. Jessica Alba seems like a very good person in real life. Like she's philanthropic. You know, she's come up, you know, with all the honest products, you know, trying to provide people with different healthier options, but she's not that good in this movie. No. Like, sure, Marv, who's the babe? Yeah. Like taking it to the range, kicks like a mule. She, as unfair as it may be to say, I think there's a very crystal clear reason why Jessica Alba gets the part she gets. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. And it's like I feel almost guilty. Oh yeah, up it as bad because I know she comes across as a decent person, but just the performance in this movie wasn't that good. Right. Well, she's worth roughly $390 million. So okay, well, I doubt my criticism will do a whole lot to her net worth. No, and if you're watching this, Patreon link down below. She can spare $6 a month. Yeah. We'll totally retract everything we just said. Yes. You can buy us off. We're fine. Yeah. I have no conscience. Right. Those are my two bads. Hey, Oz, what's your why was Nancy Callahan allowed to visit Hartigan in the hospital by herself? Yeah. If they were totally trying to get him to be framed for all of the child rape and murder going on in the city, why? How did she get to go visit him alone? That was my house. She walked in and I was like, pretty good. Like, all right. Yeah, so, he's up on charges for murder, you know, child abuse, kidnapping, rape, murder of children, and the basically the last known survivor of these crimes is allowed to go visit him alone in the hospital. So
of his his crimes.
So it was just why was she allowed? It just didn't seem to make sense. So what's your
I got to throw two very, very quick backup huhs out there. The first one, how many IV bags did Hartigan need?
All of them. I think
every IV bag in the hospital was hanging by his bag.
I don't think they put it into his vein. I think they just took a tube and put it into each bullet hole. So each bullet hole had
filled it back up.
Each bullet hole had an IV. So
and I know this movie's supposed to be sort of hyper real, but there's 15 IV bags.
There's so many, and Marv had just as many when he was recovering too.
Speaking of Marv, how long can he hold his breath for? When he drove that car off the pier, he swam down. So those are my two, just whatever quick backups. My real is all right. Just follow my math here.
Okay,
Hartigan is nearly 60 during the opening part.
Okay.
And then he's in prison for 8 years.
Okay.
When he comes out, Bob says, well, Eileen remarried 4 years ago and has 2 kids.
Okay.
So how old is Eileen? Is my
who knows?
I suppose she could be in her 30s and Hartigan was nearly 60.
But we also, I think, established Hartigan as a true enough moral person that he's not chasing younger. That's kind of how I got so that's a good question. She married 4 years ago, okay, well, maybe who knows.
So
I don't know.
So he's in his upper 60s at the close of the movie. So how old is Eileen? That's right. I don't know. I'm doing the math. I got my abacus out.
That's a good because he's almost retired and they have no kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then she remarried and had some. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, hey, folks, that's 2005's Sin City.
Normally, I try to avoid long episodes when it's my movie, but this one is one of our longest ones for sure.
Well, that's okay.
Well, not so much when I told my wife, hey, it's my movie. I'll try to make it quick. So what do you got for us next week?
Next week, as we go into week 3 of non-Marvel, non-DC comic book movies, we are going back to a movie that was very formative for me. We are going to cover 1990's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first live-action movie. It's Corey Feldman voiceover and all.
It's been a long time since I've seen this movie.
This was one where I wore out the VHS tape.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, I just in prep, I watched it over the last couple of days, and this movie, this movie, I don't know.
Does it hold up?
I think it holds up.
Yeah.
I really think it holds up. It's got some fun, goofy humor, but it still has this kind of weird, dark tone to it.
Okay.
We'll get into a lot more next week, but this movie holds up.
Fair enough. So, well, you heard it, folks. Next week we're covering Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Lord knows they've made plenty other Ninja Turtle things.
Yes, there's been lots of TMNT content.
And so, but we're going back to the OG 1990 Turtles. Social media-wise, you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. There's a Patreon link down below. If you'd like to join Colleen K.
Yes!
Join Koki on the express train to...
Oh, hey, she's got 7 sisters.
Ooh, boy, that would be a nice... Yep. That's right. All right, spread the word, Koki. So,
let's get Betty and Jan in here.
So, but for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll be back next week with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.